Hey folks, Jonathan here. I guess it's a bad time for videos with the sun shining, winter time, you know, so much shadow. Got camera issues and upload issues and issues with editors and everything else, but I guess for now we just got to get by until we can do some changing. So for anybody that's complaining about the quality of the actual videos and stuff, the quality sucks. I mean, that's just all there is to it, but there's just more to it than just going out and getting a camera or changing cameras or filming in a higher resolution. A lot of it's got to do with the editing software I'm using. It's the only stuff I've got, the only thing I know how to use, and it reduces the quality down pretty bad. And then I'm uploading with like the world's slowest upload speed. It takes 3 or 4 hours to upload one video. So yeah, I mean, everything's just causes trouble. So we'll get better eventually here, but for now we just got to live with it. So I'm back working on the 39, and you can see what the trunk looks like when after we've got pulled and everything. And I cut it loose from over there at the fender well, so because of this being bent down. So we'll actually do some jacking on that and see if we can get it straight. But I have marked where I want to cut these. I'm going to go down below and cut them so I can start fitting this panel up. And because we don't know where to run this panel here inside until we get the other panel on, and then we can get an idea on what we need to make there. But so we're going to work on the outside panel, getting it lined up, getting the opening right for the trunk lid and all that. And the trunk, it's got some issues. It's got some vents here, and it's pulled loose. So I think that's where it was bent. Now this is not the one that was on it when it was wrecked, but this is the only one I've got that's any good. The other one is missing about this much of it because it sit in the dirt. So anyway, I didn't do a lot of filming on the cutting and stuff, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show everybody where I'm going to cut. I'm just going to cut right below. Here's my mark. I've done that with the panel laying up there, so that's about close where it needs to be, but it's not perfect. So I'm going to go down below it about 1 inch, and I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to cut it around and then down and all the way through. That way we can take this piece completely off, and that won't be in our way, and help me so when I put that panel on, I can get a correct measurement on that panel. So that's the plan. And as you can see, the reveal of the body past the fender, and then there's some reveal here of the pan past the fender. So we don't want to move this in to where there's no reveal, because it won't look right up here. So you want to kind of keep it completely the same all the way around. And because we can't see a lot on this side, the fender's beat in and dented, and we're going to try to go by the other side so they match. So, alright, next thing though is to cut that and see if we can start fitting this panel up in there. And I thought about going down to the seams of the solder, but I don't want to weld anywhere around that solder because I want to weld it completely up. So the less solder we got to deal with, the better off we are. So let me get to cutting. Alright. Okay folks, I've got it stuck up on there. I did cut it about 1 inch below my marks. Got some pieces out, but it unfortunately is just not fitting very well at all. As you can see, it's too short. Both sides is the same way. And you can't stretch it, so it's going to be cut on the ends and probably extended over. These are going to have to be hammered flatter. You can see this edge here is sharp and this edge here is not. So that's the way it goes when you're using aftermarket stuff instead of the original sheet metal and stuff. You end up with a bunch of issues, and that's exactly what we have, is a bunch of issues. So I'm going to start addressing them. I've got an idea that I'm going to have to cut long ways and rebend this, hammer and dolly it or shrink it or something, and bring it over. so it matches the fender right, bolts to the fender. It's just a lot of little issues here that we have run into, but like I said, that's part of it, and we're going to keep working with it and see if we can get it figured out. Okay folks, our next problem, hopefully you can see this. You can see where this surface is at compared to where this is at. It drops down probably a ½ inch. Well, look where this surface is at, where this is at, it don't drop down basically hardly any at all. So this whole piece is going to have to be cut all the way around because the trunk's hitting this before it closes. So our next mess that we got ourselves into here. So let me get it marked and cut, and then we'll go from there. Because I've just got it screwed on. I'm trying to close the trunk to get a, you know, a gap in the where the trunk needs to be, and it will not close at all. So I know we got some denting up here and all, but it's not even coming close. So I got a feeling that this is probably not going to be deep enough when I'm done. I think this panel's just going to be a damn mess is what it's going to be, unfortunately. I think we could have probably made that panel in 4 or 5 pieces better than what they done. And if I had to do over again, I'll tell you right now I would for sure. But you know, we've got it, so we're going to work with it. All right. Okay, so here's where we're at. We've got this one pretty fair. It's a little bigger here, but I can actually work with that. We can work with the whole thing around. And this is too short, of course, so we're going to have to cut this and redo this end. That's not a problem. We can handle that. Now what I'm going to do is, these are screwed in, what I'll do is go back and cut with a thin cutoff wheel all the way through, and then let this sink in and be, you know, butted up instead of overlap. So I just don't like overlapping. And then this side, this is where we're having the problems. But it's not because of my quarter, it's because the opening in this is too big, and it's forcing it over. So we're going to do a little changing on it to get it back over and get this gap how I want it. And I think the bottom gaps, we might have to go down a little bit on this side, but we're pretty good there. So slowly getting it. Same thing over here, too short, so we're going to cut this long ways and redo the end of it. So this will be 3 pieces time it's done. But our main thing is to work with this gap right here, get this where that trunk lid is, where it needs to be. Shouldn't be too bad. So we'll continue to work on it until we run out of daylight, I guess. But getting there just takes a little work, you know. You know, I can't sit here and say that I wouldn't recommend somebody buying one of these panels, because really I don't know that there's any other way of doing it, unless, I mean, of course, if you find an original car and cut it off of, but they're all going to be rusted out. And working with the original parts is so much nicer than working with this aftermarket stuff. But you know, as long as you can cut and weld, you can change anything on it, modify it, change it any way you want to. So that's what we're going to do on that end. We're going to modify it some, and then, well, both ends, but right there at that opening. And like I said, get this gap right. And I did get the trunk lid to where it'll stay up now. The latch is working on it, so that's really nice. No more vice gripping it every time I raise it up. So. All right, I'm just going to keep at it, keep fitting on it and stuff, and I'll show you as I go. I mean, there's nothing really here that is interesting to watch, so I'll show you more. Okay, folks, we finally got this over where we needed it. And what I've done was cut it here, moved it over. Now we can work with the gap, no problem. So everything looks good. You know, we'll have to play with it a little bit. We're good here, we're good here, we're a little close here. The curves in this new piece are just not perfect by any means. But once we get it welded in, then we can start doing a little hammering and a little, you know, grinding on this if we need to, and we'll redo the body line to make sure it's, you know, correct all the way around. And then we'll start cutting right here because I've got this overlapped over this, so we'll start cutting it. And once we cut it and we get about halfway over, I should be able to line it up to get them flush. I'll start tacking it, and then I'll just keep going, keep cutting until we cut it clear across. And then we'll have this in, and then we're going to end up having to cut this off and redo the ends of it They don't match at all with the fenders. It's too narrow. It's about a 1/4 inch too narrow here and about a 1/2 inch too narrow here, so it cuts in. So, but I can make that look exactly like it needs to look. It's just going to take a little work. And then we can do the other end the same way and redo the fender on the other end. We've got to cut the piece off the end of that fender for it. So that's the plan. We'll keep at it. Don't know how much more I'm going to get done here. So I got my latch working. So here's what we've got. And this will all have to be welded and molded, you know, and put together to where you can't tell that it's ever been done. And it didn't really leave us as much of a problem as I thought it was going to be here. I'm just going to make a new panel, and I know how this panel goes, and it'll actually come in and it'll weld into this other panel, spot into this other panel. But this floor is not going to be too bad to do. Where it's bent right here, we're going to just cut out and we'll replace it. This actually bends down, so we can see how this is. This is supposed to be straight, flat all the way. So, but it needs to come up, so we'll just cut it out. We'll cut it out and replace it, and we can make that. And then, you know, it won't look exactly factory or stock or anything like that, but that really don't matter. I just want to get it back in there and get it sealed up to where, you know, there's nothing, no leaks through there, because I don't need exhaust fumes to come back in through the trunk and, you know, smell. And I don't like having open gaps in the back like that. It's not a good thing. So anyway, we're gonna keep at it here. It's gonna be dark here shortly, so I'm not gonna get much more done, but we're moving right along. All right, I worked on this gap on this side a little bit. We got it a little closer, a little better. This panel is just not, I don't know, it's not all it's cracked up to be. So next is going to be to cut and start welding it in here enough to make sure it's not going to move anywhere. We've got the same thing we got to do over here, and then we got to do some transitioning in here, but and you know, getting the gap exactly right. But I don't want to do much here until I replace the end of this fender. That's probably going to be the next thing we do here. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But this side, of course, is just like the other side. It's too short, so we're going to have to cut this off, rebend, possibly shrink the end of it to get it at a 90, bring it over, and then fill in the gap. So that's pretty simple. You know, or weld up our seam here where we cut it to right there, to, you know, narrow it up because it was too wide, you know, at the door, right at the opening. So besides that, I think it's good. I think we're gonna be all right. The latch is working fine. Everything's working like it's supposed to. So, all right, well, not much to show, but I will do some more video hopefully tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. And the cruising's the 17th this month, and I don't know what day this is, but anyway, I'd like to take it. I think it's next Monday. If I can get the brakes done and get the gas tank straightened out to where I can, even if I can haul it down there and then just drive around the parking lot there, we may do that. And we're getting ready to have a place here to put the roadster to where we can work on it in the cold. That way we can get that body done and go ahead and get some paint on it, because I want, you know, like I said, I want to paint it. So as far as I know, that's the plans for it, is to paint it. And then and I still hadn't told him about the color of the paint, but I've already got the paint, so that's why I want to go and do it. So we'll paint it, get it done, and then start buttoning it up, getting it together, get this together. And I have got parts for the Franklin. We'll get it rolling. I don't know if we're going to do any more on the other 31. It depends on if I find a windshield and windshield frame, and if I decide to do the interior on that car and just finish up everything that needs done so I can sell it as a running driving car. So we'll decide on it. That's the 31 Roadster, the original car I've got. So anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and stay tuned. We'll get back on this and see if we can get it knocked out. All right, bye.